Trapping. Hey, what's up, people? Welcome back to Saturdays with the Boys podcast. I'm Jacob, and I'm here with
Kid G.
Yeah, and this is episode 71. We just keep on going through, and it's crazy because I've saw other podcasts that haven't been around for so much longer, and I think there's one that it's kind of one that I listen to now. His podcast has been around since 2015. So eight.
Dude, some podcasts, catching up with some podcasts is like catching up to fucking One Piece. People insist that it's so fucking good, but it takes 700 episodes to get into.
I mean, because I only listen to a lot of podcasts, but there's this one podcast I listen to, and it's the Basement Yard, mainly because it reminds me so fucking much of me and Kirby. I find it hilarious.
I listen to mainly the Distractable one with Markiplier.
That's true. For some reason, I can't get into their podcast, which is shocking to me.
Yeah, they're just really slow.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I like watching Joe Rogan's.
Yeah. Not only that, I know our podcast can be slow sometimes too.
Slow, he says, as we make hour-long episodes casually.
Yeah. And then people who have done it for so long make it look easy. But as you guys know, we take the first 5 minutes to talk about whatever, the last 5 minutes to talk about whatever, and then we'll get into the topic for this week. Lately, we've been more on the historical topics as of late, which is cool. I love history. Even in school, if I had to choose a favorite subject, it was learning world history or American history. You name it. So I don't mind learning more stuff about history, or world history in general.
Dude, I think the thing that made history worth it the most was usually the teachers. Because you either had the chillest, history teacher who was... I'll be honest, usually the chillest teachers were usually dudes.
Yeah.
Or you had a bunch of an English teacher.
Yeah. I feel like I had an equal amount of both. With teachers, both men and women when it came to history teachers.
In all honesty, the only male teachers I've seen that have been shit at their jobs is fucking music teachers. I only see music teachers lose their shit over other male teachers. Bro,
it's funny that you mentioned that, because right when you said music teachers, I couldn't agree more, because this is I think I shared this story with, I think I have, I don't think I've shared it on the podcast, but basically, this was 7th grade, and the music teacher we had at the time, he was so fucking bad at his job, because one thing that irritates me about teachers, or okay, so there's a thing that irritates me about teachers and certain parents, how certain teachers, and it's that how certain teachers worry so much about being the cool teacher instead of being a teacher, and how parents are too afraid of, or just too focused on being the cool parent instead of just being a parent. That's one of my pet peeves, because I'm just what the fuck are you doing? But back to the music teacher one. I'm not gonna say his name or whatever, because I don't want to call him out, or I don't even think he even still goes. He works at that school anymore. Because granted, this was 5 years ago. But so basically, literally, he'll because the teacher we had before, she was amazing. She was a sweetheart. She knew exactly what she was doing, and band was actually fun that year. But then next year, when I found out she left, I was bummed out. And then we had this other teacher, and then he was always trying to one of those teachers who would make cool puns or whatever, or cool sayings, or something that references. He would try to make something cool that references to something, or one of those kind of things or whatever. But like literally, like when it came to like learning the music, he would just like hand out like the music handbooks and like not doing anything else, and he'll just like freaking like look at his computer like emails or whatever the hell teachers do. And so like obviously like I was in percussion, and Jesse can agree with this with me too, because like that's how me and Jesse met was in band. Um, because me and Jesse, so it was me, Jesse, and two or three other people in percussion. And as you know, obviously percussion's like far in the back of the room because of that's big ass drum equipment and whatnot. And I remember Zach was in that class too, but he freaking was all the way up there because I forget what instrument he played. Um, but like literally, like we would always get like accused of like um, doing bad shit just because like we sat in the back and whatnot. And it wasn't even because of me and Jesse. It was because of these other two fucking fucktards that would like literally like sit in the back of like the lockers and fucking watch porn.
Ugh.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Zach, if you're watching this. I hate that I'm going to expose you for I'm going to expose you for a minute. But like when Zach would come like back to like the percussion area and just like, because this was before like this was back when like me and Zach like fucking hated each other. Like this was before me and him became friends. Like he'll at least go back and join them and watch porn with them. And me and Jesse would be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" And really like when like the teacher like got on about like the whole percussion group about it, he specifically blamed me and Jesse for it. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like I think like he literally just hated me for some reason because I seemed suspicious or that I wore all black or something or that I was always quiet. Like he always like just I could feel like his glare every time he looked at me. I'm just like he had a problem with me just because I looked different compared to everybody else. But that was an annoying thing. Like he did not know how to do his job at all. And he was like the reason like band sucked that year, because like even when like the class got out of control and the class was like talking over him forever, he would just stand there and just like not actually do anything about it and just like like say like, oh, you guys are such a bad class, yada yada yada. And I'm like dude, like I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but that's kind of your fault. Like you're you're like the leader, like you tell us what to do, you put us in our place because you're here to educate us, you know? It's like some people are not fit for their job.
Nah. I feel you.
So I went on a little rant right there, but like when you brought up music teachers, I just brought up that story. But I enjoyed band, but 7th grade band, like, it fucking sucks. And that was like the year that was my last year in like public school. Cause
In all honesty, I've always like wanted to learn string instruments, but looking back, I'm like, why do I want to learn string instruments? They're so fucking difficult. Learning a fucking like a band instrument would be so much easier. Like if I look back, I was like, why didn't I just do fucking trumpet? I probably would have been a great fucking trumpet player. Instead, I spend my time playing a tiny fucking instrument that no one knows.
Yeah, I did like 2 years of band, and that's all I did. Like I remember, like I had like my own like snare drum, like in its casing for like. I think we ended up giving it away in the middle of the move too because I didn't want anything to do with it. So literally like 4 years at the time, like this snare drum would just like sit in a certain place, and I never touched it again.
Of course you gotta drum for fucking band. That's the easiest fucking thing to play.
But it's the most fun too.
I think that depends. If you want to be lazy, yeah. But if you're like good at an instrument, I doubt someone's gonna say like, a good trumpet player is gonna want to play a fucking a singular drum going boom, boom, boom. March.
At the time, I was so glad when I found out I got the part for percussion because that was the only one I was really aiming for, because I know Zach tried to get the part for percussion and he didn't get it. I remember he was so bummed out about it. cause like I mean, in a sense, yes, percussion is also like the easiest, to play in band.
I used to remember how to fucking read sheet music.
Yeah, dude, it's been so long. Like I used to be really good about like rereading like sheet music, but with it being like 5 years, I'm just like, oh fuck, I think I forgot.
I know, dude, it hasn't even been. I don't think it's been 5 years for me yet. It might have been, but like looking back, I'm thinking of like, what was that fucking note on, or where was this on? Because I remember kind of how the scaling went.
Hmm.
But here's one thing I never learned from sheet music and never got was tempo. Tempo on sheet music is so fucking weird.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's very weird.
Because it's like the timing isn't. It has to be like taught by another person. Because if you're learning sheet music by yourself, you're never going to be able to learn tempo and play a song religiously and learn off the tempo of that for
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like learning sheet music makes that hard. In all honesty, learning to play by ear is probably the best thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it makes it a little bit original, but for one, and second of all, it also just it doesn't sound better sometimes, but it at least sounds closer to what some people are trying to go for than if you're going for perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in all honesty, learning on how to play like a wind instrument or something like that, if you learn how to play by ear rather than by, let's say, notes, it becomes so much easier. Because I remember when I was learning how to play my ocarina, it's easy scaling it because all I have to do is lift my fingers up in a row. But I can also make like actual notes if I really wanted to. But making an actual note on an ocarina requires like pretty skilled hand movement.
Oh yeah.
That learning by ear is kind of required to play the ocarina.
Yeah.
So now when I look at like a guitar is so different when it comes to learning how to play the guitar.
Yeah. And I even thought about learning how to play like even just like an acoustic guitar.
You can play acoustic?
Well, I don't play it now, but I've thought about like learning how to play it. Because I know I mentioned how. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so in my opinion, no matter what guitar you start on, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, in some cases, the electric guitar is the easiest.
Is it?
I say in some cases because if you look at like some of the tempos on the guitar with the notes, you have to have pretty strong fingers and place them firm in a very specific way that's not touching any of the other frets and already having fat fingers. It's pretty fucking hard.
Yeah. I would assume acoustic would be easier. For some reason, I don't know why.
I think in some cases it is easier as well as it's the cheapest option.
Yeah.
Usually, in all honesty, the acoustic guitar has a lot faster songs than most other guitars.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I could argue that bass is probably the easiest.
I mean, my dad played bass.
Yeah, because it's just 4 strings, and usually the strings only depend on your fingers.
Yeah.
So as long as you're good at holding down pretty thick strings, then like 4 thick strings, and you just need to learn notes.
Yeah. Yeah, alright, so to begin the topic for this week, I feel like we can keep like talking like we are, but at least still get some information for our topic for this week. So our topic for this week is Mongolian-Japanese War.
shit. Okay.
So like again, we're still more on like the history topics as of right now. So
No, this is an interesting time because it was a time. It was because the Mongolian-Japanese War was always like paused, delayed, and then continued. Where it was like this ongoing process where like Genghis or Kublai would come along and they would try to take over Japan. And both times Japan would try to defend themselves. And I don't think they ever fell to the Mongolian Empire, but there was like big pauses in history where they wouldn't fight, and then they would just beef with each other out of nowhere again.
yeah.
And it was honestly like considered just. It was always just like ingrained usually into the Japanese mind that it's like the Mongolians aren't the enemies, but they also are because they're the ones always fucking attacking.
Yeah.
And during that time, Japan was always also having like civil wars going on.
Mm.
So, in all honesty, it gave the Japanese a good break from fighting each other because they would all unite to fight the Mongolians again, and it would cause peace in Japan again because they all band together to fight a fucking war.
Alright, so right here it says major military efforts were taken by Kublai Khan of the Yuan dynasty in 1274 and 1281 to conquer the Japanese archipelago after the submission of the Korean kingdom of Goryeo to Vasallam. There's some interesting words in there I can't pronounce. Yeah, so it started in 1274, or 1274, I forget how they pronounce the years, around that time. The end date was 1281. Well, no. Yeah, I can. So basically, 7 years, I think. Yeah. Which was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think, the first Mongolian-Japanese War started circa 1200s?
Yeah. Like over 700 years ago.
Yeah. So I think that was the beginning of it, and then during, like, the 1800s is when it finally stopped, so they had, like, a 400-year period, I believe, where they would just, like, on and off beef with where Mongolia would beef with other nations, and Japan was just always on its list.
Yeah. Alright, so we'll look at a few questions here. Alright, so first one, who defeated the Mongols in Japan? Hajo Takamai? I can't pronounce Japanese names. Born June 5th, 1251, Kamakura, Japan, died April 20th, 1284. Young regent to the shogun, military dictator of Japan, under whom the country fought off two Mongol invasions, the only serious foreign threats to the Japanese islands before modern times. Why did Mongols invade Japan? Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, turned his ambitions east. Japan, the land of the rising sun, was to be his next target. Perhaps the Khan wanted to reestablish his Mongol heritage. Perhaps he wanted to rekindle Chinese trade relations with Japan. Oh yeah, so it's like fucking Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah. So I also say, like, it's interesting because there were time periods where all they had was, like, maybe cannons, but they had a good chunk where they just fought mainly with, like, swords and shields, and there was, like, a small period where they used rifles against each other and shit.
Yeah. Another one, Why did Mongols fail to conquer Japan? Um, the Mongol invasions of Japan failed primarily due to two typhoons and an inferior navy. In 1274 and 1281, the Mongols under Kublai Khan launched invasions of Japan, and they felt they could be successful due to the recent capitulations of Korea. Alright, number 4. Was Japan at war with Mongolia? Mongolia's slow closure with Japan escalated into a series of battles after the Japanese and Manchukuo troops invaded in the northeastern corner of Mongolia in 1939. The fighting reached its climax in August when Mongolian and Soviet troops under the command of Soviet Gen. Interesting. And then another one, who saved Japan from Mongols? The Kamikaze. So the Kamikaze were two winds of storm that were said to have saved Japan from two Mongol fleets under Kublai Khan. These fleets attacked Japan in 1274 and again in 1281. Damn. Now I feel like we can go to YouTube. Okay. Mongolian Japanese War. Oh, excuse me. I always find it interesting how these kinds of wars, even just like wars in general, like how like they all have like their own way of like coming about, you know, and how they leave such like an impact on history, and then how we learn about them like hundreds and hundreds of years later. It's like damn.
By the way, your mic is kind of flaking on and off.
See if I do that. It's a bit better now.
Let's see, talk a little bit.
Hola.
Keep going.
It's your boy Skinny Penis.
It's like your voice cuts out a little bit.
Nah, fuck.
Yeah, and also your voice is delayed on my end too, where like your lips move after I hear a voice.
Yeah. Don't mean to hang up and I'll call right back.
Yeah.
Alright, let's do that. Sorry guys, they're experiencing technical difficulties. Alright.
We bake.
Okay. Does it sound better now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry guys, we just had a little bit of technical difficulties there. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we have a few screen recording ideas that we could do, but I don't want to get into them just yet because we're still a little early on. But we received a comment. Oh, that was an old comment. So like it's funny how like with like the podcast I could barely get like notifications when I see a comment. I'm just like,
Understandable.
Yeah, cause like I don't know, it's just like another thing I've noticed, cause I guess like the podcast and like the channel haven't been doing as good lately. Like for example, with my main channel, like I think at the beginning of May last month I was at like 209, and like now with it being May I'm back at like 205. So I lost like 4 subscribers like the past month, and like again, like I'm used to like losing subscribers. Like it's gonna happen. Like the entire like it's part of what it's part of being like a content or a YouTuber or a content creator in general. Like you're gonna like use certain people of your audience. You know, it's gonna happen, and so that's when you gotta try to learn to like what can I do differently to like bring back more people. Or like bring new viewers back or something like that. But it's just kind of been hard to figure that out because I'm just like, fuck, I'm so used to doing videos with you guys, and so I'm just like trying to figure out like when I'm here in Florida what I could do differently to like gain back them views and stuff like that because lately like I know like the podcast and like the channel has been what's the word, stale there for a little bit because like whenever I put out a video like when I'm with you guys like it gets a lot of recognition just because I feel like that's what like the channel is mostly like grows off of. I'm trying not to be discouraged about it. Because, if you think about it, 4 subscribers is not a lot, but it's still a decent amount, too, at the same time. So I'm not trying to, like, get discouraged about it.
I mean, it only takes 2 to make a club.
That's true.
So in retrospect, 4 ain't bad.
Yeah. And I've also noticed views haven't been doing too good either, so I'm just trying to, like, I need to spice things up a bit again, I feel like that's, just the thing with being a content creator, like, you're always gonna have, like, this go on with, like, your channel and whatnot. So, like, whenever, like, it starts, like, going more downhill, I feel like that's, like, your reminder to be, like, need to spice things up more, or try something different, because trying to keep a good audience is not necessarily easy because people are interested in a lot of different things, and it's also hard to like keep them entertained into a certain thing and then have them tune in again for a newer video and stuff like that. So that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah. Yeah, that's freaking funny what KJ was saying before we started recording. I keep forgetting this every year, but spoiler, if you guys didn't know, it's Pride Month.
Yeah, I honestly like that when June 1st rolled around, like even that day I was like, this just feels like a very average day. I don't really care about this at all.
Yeah.
And then it got me realizing, like, the only reason why people care and make a big deal about this is either because they're a part of it, which I don't blame them for, or it's just talked about because it's so annoying.
Yeah.
And I realized that's kind of Pride Month. Like, Pride Month in its own way is, like, very fucking annoying.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know Pride Month was a thing till, like, probably 2 years ago.
I mean, I just kind of always knew it was a thing, or, like, I always got the concept of it, but just, let's see, I've really only been to, like, one, like, I kind of visited a parade down in Denver, and it sucks, too, because it's, like, just a bunch of, it's just basically a bunch of, like, gay people who just act like a bunch of dickheads or just act like a bunch of horny people all the time.
Yeah.
Because I think that's pride, that it's okay to have, like, gay euphoria. So it's annoying when I'm walking, like, down Denver during Pride Month, and then a random guy will come up to me and basically grab my chest.
Ugh.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what happened to me. And then walk away into the parade saying it's Pride Month. Like, at that point, I'm like, yeah, I don't care for this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, cause like, I don't have like a problem with it. Like the only thing that I find annoying is like when people make it like this big like monumental like thing, or like the people that try to be like, oh, like I'm better than you because I'm gay or bisexual or whatever. they make their sexuality sound like such like an important thing, and like say like, oh, I'm better than you just because I'm gay or something like that, like, or like the people that encourage like other people to be gay or like something like that. Like that's one thing I find annoying. And so like like again, like I don't have anything against it, all right? Like my sister's gay, all right? And I still love her the same, and I always will. And but it's just like I feel like there should be like a standard line of like, you know, like you go do what makes you happy. You be the person who you want to be, and then you just you do you, you know, like and I respect that 100%. But it's another thing to like push that onto somebody else, you know.
The only thing I try to stay away from when it comes to like any of this is gender debates. Holy fuck, I get pissed at gender debates.
Yeah.
Because, in all honesty, I don't even tell people my opinion about it anymore, and I don't really have one in the first place about, like, how many such genders. I don't care. But at the same time, if I think someone saying that there's, like, 72 genders is fucking obnoxious. I think the 72 gender rule is fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, I don't think that there's such thing as a Z-zer or a... Or, I mean, if someone wants to call themselves a they-them, I don't even consider they-them a pronoun. Like, non-binary isn't a pronoun. You're just non-binary.
Yeah.
Being trans means you're transitioning to the other gender. So it technically means that being a trans girl or a trans man doesn't really matter because you're still going to the other gender.
Yeah. Alright, so before getting into other side topics that we've been talking about, we'll get back to our main topic, and so we'll do our first screen recording since we're about at the 30 minutes, so I feel like that'd be a good time to do our first screen recording and whatnot. And it's Real Ghost of Tsushima, a Mongol invasion of Japan documentary. Now the full video is 15 minutes, but a screen recording will only go up to like 10 minutes, which is fine. If I feel like that's long, I feel like that's enough time for anything really, especially for a podcast. But if I were to get the full app, I would have to pay for shit. I'm just like, you know what? I want your fucking money. So, oh man. Okay, so, alright. Click on this. And let's go right about. Fast forward here to right about here.
Whose head?
Okay. Alright. Start a new screen recording. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Let's get right into it.
So Sukekuni was the deputy shugo, military governor of the island. According to the Hachiman Gudokun, a Japanese source written soon after the invasion, on Tsushima there was a shrine to Hachiman, the Japanese god of war. Tradition holds that on the day the Mongol fleet neared Tsushima, a fire broke out at Hachiman's shrine, a foreboding omen. The fire was extinguished and white doves were seen gathering on the roof of the shrine. As doves were the messengers of Hachiman, Sukekuni interpreted it as a warning from Hachiman, for why else would the god set fire to his own shrine? Some modern authors have interpreted this as the doves having caused the fire, perhaps from incendiaries tied to them, and hence the opening salvo in the Mongol attack upon the island. Either way, news reached Sukekuni that a massive fleet was approaching. Sukekuni rallied his forces, some 80 mounted samurai and their retainers. He led them through the night over rough terrain to set up on the beach of Komoda and prepare for the dawn. As the Yuan fleet neared Komoda Beach early on the morning of November 5th, Sukekuni sent a small vessel out to inquire as to the purpose of their arrival. With the Bakufu having rebuffed the Great Khan's envoys repeatedly, the time was well past for talk. Sukekuni knew chances of victory against such a massive force were non-existent, yet lined the defenders of Tsushima up for battle all the same as the smaller enemy landing craft neared the shore. The primary weapon of the samurai was the bow, their valuable and iconic yumi, with which each warrior was highly skilled. Like the Mongols, the samurai fought as mounted archers, though their maneuvers on horseback could not compare to steppe nomads born into the saddle. The wealthiest samurai were well protected in their colourful and distinctive yoroi, though on a poorer island like Tsushima, few of the 80 samurai gathered by Sukekuni would be so well armoured. For sidearms, Sukekuni's warriors had their single curved blades, the predecessors of the famous katana, while the remainder of his forces were armed with little beyond spears and naginata. In contrast, the forces sent against him were varied, commanded by the Mongol general Ho-Tan. Most of the infantry Ho-Tan threw against Sukekuni were Chinese and Korean levies raised by the Khan, armed with spears, large wicker or bamboo shields, and protected by cloth and gambeson-like armors. As per Mongol tactics, these troops considered most expendable were sent in the first waves, soaking up enemy arrows, while the more valuable Kiten, Jurchen, Turkic and Mongol horse archers disembarked from the ships. Generally lightly armoured but highly experienced, their composite bows made them a deadly counter to the samurai. The sea voyage and need to lead their horses from the landing craft meant they could only slowly get into their formations, preventing them from immediately trying to outflank their enemies, as was their usual practice. While the Mongols readied their horses, the Korean and northern Chinese troops were sent against the samurai. As per samurai tradition, battle began with a whistling arrow sent high into the air. Per Mongol tradition, drums marked the start of their own advance. Sukekuni's skilled archers took a heavy toll on the foe marching up the beach. As the Yuan forces neared them, challenges for single combat by the samurai went unanswered by the Chinese and Koreans, marching as they were behind rather un-samurai-like large shields. Unused to the pressure and greatly outnumbered, Sukekuni pulled his men back to the tree line, where the Yuan advance was slowed. Here the swordsmanship of the samurai made itself known. One of Sukekuni's closest comrades, Saito Sukisada, brought down several of the Yuan soldiers and one senior Mongol officer. Standing tall over the fallen officer, Sukisada shouted threats at the Mongols, calling on any who dared face him in battle. The Mongols responded with arrows, 3 of which pierced the armor of Sukisada's chest and ended him. In the tradition of the history of the So family, seeing the doom that awaited them, So Sukekuni loosed the remainder of his arrows into the Yuan and led one final futile cavalry charge into his foe. In the end, the defenders were slaughtered, leaving the island open to the Mongols, and over the following week, Tsushima was overrun. Towns were burnt, many were slaughtered, and a number of women of the So family committed suicide lest they fall into Mongol hands. A worse fate awaited the prisoners. Both Japanese and Yuan sources attest that wire was threaded through the palms of the prisoners, mainly women, who were strung along the prows of the Yuan ships as a gruesome necklace. By the 13th of November, Tsushima had fallen, and Ho-Tan ordered the fleet to the next island, Iki. Here, the deputy shugo, Taira Kagitaka, had had time to prepare his forces, sending word to Kyushu for aid. After sending women and children to Hinotsume Castle, he took 100 mounted samurai and their retainers to meet the Yuan fleet on the northern beaches of the island. Kagitaka's forces held them off for a few hours, slowing down the Yuan landing, but were unable to prevent it. As the Yuan foothold grew, Kagitaka had no choice but to withdraw to Hinotsume Castle in the evening. Here, the small wooden walls would not long provide shelter against the warriors who had taken Shanyang. Kagitaka sent his daughter, Katsurihime, with a single samurai to take word to the Bakufu, and prepared for a hopeless last stand as the Yuan encircled the castle. Women and townspeople within the castle joined in the defense, hurling what they could at the enemy. Catapults and Mongol arrows made short work of those on the walls, and when Kagitaka attempted to lead a valiant sally through the gates, he found the Mongols pushing captive Japanese before them, wire threaded through their palms, living cover for the Mongolian archers. His numbers dwindling, Kagetaka led what was left to the castle. As fire began to engulf the fort and his remaining men gave them what time they could, Kagetaka watched his family commit suicide before he too joined them in his final act of defiance. Iki was thus overrun, and slaughter and other atrocities followed. Katsurahime never made it to shore, her boat coming too close to Mongol arrows. Survivors, such as Katsura's samurai bodyguard, brought news of the terrors on Tsushima and Iki to the rest of Japan. In popular tradition, upon learning of these horrors, the regent, Hojo Tokimune, stated that this would be the most momentous occasion of his life. When asked by a nearby priest how he intended to reply to the Mongol invasion, Tokimune shrieked "Katsu!" victory. As we covered before, the Mongols would not find victory on the shores of Hakata Bay, where stiff Japanese resistance and an unexpected storm pushed the remnants of the fleet back to the Yuan realm. Undaunted by the efforts of this small archipelago, Kublai threw another, even larger fleet against Japan after he had conquered the Song dynasty. In 1281, his forces returned to Tsushima and Iki, though little information is provided on these second encounters other than the fact local defences once again fell quickly. One detail provided is that Saito Sukesada's son, So Moriaki, continued in his father's legacy and fought the Mongols on the beaches of Tsushima. Another is that the crying of children in the mountains of Tsushima alerted the Mongols to the presence of families hiding there, resulting in the deaths of 300. Ultimately, the invasion of 1281 proved an even greater disaster than the first, and thousands of Chinese, Mongols and Koreans met their end in the sea off the coast of Japan. The local defences on Tsushima and the Japanese islands continued to be maintained during the following decades for the possibility of a Mongol return, which was threatened but never materialized. Emboldened, Japanese pirates once more began to threaten the coastline, continuously attacking Korea throughout the Yuan and Ming eras, and in time ranging as far afield as Malaysia. On Tsushima and Iki, memorials stand to the brave samurai who stood against unstoppable odds, local heroes who gave their lives for the defense of their islands, small garrisons against perhaps the most fearsome army in history. March of Empires is a free-to-download medieval MMO war strategy game where you can build your own empire, and now it has a huge summer update called Wings of Liberty. Support our channel and build your empire by downloading now through the link in the description. We are planning more videos on Japanese and Mongol histories, so make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button. The link to our podcast is in the description. We would like to express our gratitude to our Patreon supporters and channel members who make the creation of our videos possible. Now you can also support us by buying our merchandise via the link in the description. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.
Anyway, the screen recording. Okay. Alright, so, I don't know if you guys heard, but, Kirby had to go, I believe he, is leaving for California, soon, so, he's gonna be in California for a little bit, and then you guys probably won't see him again till next month, which, means I'll probably be in Colorado then, and then, he'll be able to be in person, so, yeah, so, that's a little bit of, the challenge that everyone's getting busier. For instance, Hunter just started a new job. Again, Kirby's gonna be in California and whatnot. So the guys are getting busy. And that's the only challenging thing about it is we're all getting older and we're all going to be getting busier. Like for example, when I come back from Colorado, when I come back here, I'm going to start working again probably. And I have one more year left of school, and I'm actually supposed to be graduated, which is fucking crazy to think about. But oh man. But yes. So. You know what? Like, since like I know we only have like 15 minutes left, but I'll give it to look at channel analytics for the podcast, and whatnot. Um, I think the most watched highlight is that Jacob and KJ react to comedian Josh Wolf. Okay. Um, and then the second one is Jacob and KJ react to WWE 2K20 glitches. That one's an old one. I think that was like the very first episode we've ever done. And then watch the first 5 minutes of the 67th podcast. That wasn't too long ago. That was like about a month or so ago. Jacob reacts to Ninja Sex Party. That was like a few months ago. Jacob reacts to King Kong vs. Godzilla. That was like back in November. So there's Voice Pop Podcast episode 18 horror. Yeah, that one's one. Jacob reacts to Samurai vs. Mongol. That one wasn't long ago either. Brother and Jacob react to guys get their ears pierced. That one's another popular one. That got a lot of recognition for some reason last year. Watched the first 5 minutes of the 60-second podcast. That was like 2 months ago. Jacob reacts to the best scenes of Lord of the Rings. Yeah. That was last month, I think. But yeah, so like, we appreciate you guys that still tune into like the podcast. Again, like we really enjoy doing this for you guys. I mean, we've been doing this for about what, like a year and 4 months, which is like 16 months in all. So like, and we 71 weeks basically. And so like we really enjoy doing this for you guys, and I'm sorry if like the podcast has been stale for quite some time. It's a lot harder with me being in Florida and everyone else being in Colorado, and us having to do it off of video chat and stuff like that, and whatnot. So I know it gets hard. I know that's a bit. It makes it more difficult to do things. But we just kind of got to do what we can work with basically, and it may be a lot harder, but like I don't plan on stopping, because like I really do have so much fun doing YouTube and like this podcast. Like this podcast has always been so much fun. Yes, there's been times where like I didn't want to fucking do it sometimes, because like I told you guys in my main channel, you guys have seen it, like I've kind of been in like a dark depressive state for a little bit, because like I'm in the Florida all the time and I get like lonely and isolated kind of thing. But just like we really enjoy doing this shit for you guys, and it really brings joy to my heart to be able to do this for you guys, and knowing that you guys enjoy it as well. It's such a beautiful feeling, and it just never gets old for me. And yeah, so. But yeah, but we're going to keep on doing this stuff for you guys. We got more topics, we got more content ideas for the main channel. I know I addressed earlier how like I've been losing subscribers, which I know it's going to happen. It's part of being a YouTuber. But just like, I'm trying not to be discouraged about it, because like I feel like it makes it harder for me to think of new ideas, especially when I'm not with the guys and whatnot. But hopefully, like maybe in the next few months, maybe things will turn around. We don't know. But yeah. But here in a few moments, we'll get into the last screen recording for the episode. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and get right into it. I don't want to bore you guys much longer. Alright, so... Let's do something different. I know I did like a recording on Ghost of Tsushima not that long ago, but I want to do the invasion scene. 'Cause I feel like the invasion scene is like probably like one of the most like iconic opening scenes to any video game ever. Not only that, because it's based off of like history too, which makes it even more like satisfying. Alright, start one last screen recording. 3, 2, 1. I'm probably gonna have to fast forward a little bit. There we go.
I die for my people. There must be thousands of them. We will face death and defend our home.
Guys, but it's also this I've seen. It's been like what, 2
Tradition,
years?
courage, honor. They are what make us. We are the warriors of Tsushima. We are samurai! Obadachi, go break their spirits. Hey!
Outsiders!
I just lost this.
Send your finest warrior to face me!
Nada, Jinmira.
I am Haru Nobuadachi, descendant of the legendary Yoshi Nobuadachi.
Oh, forgot about that. Disrespect.
Samurai!
Do you surrender? Cowards of Tamura deserve no mercy. No mercy! Empire for Tsushima!
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen this, man. Trying to chase me back to when I did play it.
I need you with me. We've lost so many. We have to keep pushing Lord Sakai, even if it costs us our lives. As a command, Lord Shimura. Men, we must hunt down the Mongol leader. Everyone, with me! No Mongol dog! Cut them down! We're all that's left. There is only one path for us. Find the Mongol leader and end him here.
I'll fight beside you to the end.
I know.
And I totally forgot about some of this.
The Mongol leader.
I'm ready, Uncle.
We end this together.
I don't remember this part.
I am Khotan, cousin of Kublai, grandson of Genghis. Brother, you are a warrior. I can see that. You trained your whole life for this. And you have won battles that lesser men have called unwinnable, yes? But while you were sharpening your sword, do you know how I prepared for today? I learned. I know your language, your traditions, your beliefs, which villages to tame and which to burn. So I'll ask you once again, Samurai. Do you surrender?
Yeah, I feel like Orchon is kind of stubborn in all this. But sometimes being too stubborn can, you know, only dig the hole deeper, you know? And I feel like that's kind of what happened throughout the entirety of this game. But it was an amazing game, phenomenal game. And the DLC was also phenomenal. And if they came out with a second game, I would gladly play it for you guys. What's going on? And there goes the screen recording, guys. I think that is a good way to wrap up the podcast. Anyways, guys, so again, I understand things have been stale a bit lately, but I'm trying to think of new ideas, to try to spice things better. But again, that means anything for the podcast, anything for the main channel. But anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and do the outro. So thank you guys so much for watching this week's podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and hit the link in the description to subscribe to my main channel as well. You'll get a whole bunch of different content. You'll get podcast highlights over there and gaming content over there as well. And then if you subscribe to the podcast, and turn your notifications on so you can be notified for new episodes every Saturday, because it's Saturdays with the Boys podcast. And yeah, if you do all those, I'll freaking love you guys. I mean, I love you guys regardless, but if you did that, just join the community, join the family, because we love everyone here. We love all you guys, so and we love doing what we do for you guys, especially I do, because I couldn't imagine doing anything else. So anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, hope you guys are having a good summer. And as always, I'll see you guys next week. Deuces. Love you guys. Take care. Be well. Bye.
Trapping.